Welcome to Washington, East to West Sports. This is episode 119. I am Matt Beatty, joined alongside, as usual, by Sean Beatty and Kevin Ardall. And we have our recurring special guest, JT underscore the Ginger on Twitter. Please give him a follow. Go ahead and post to him, tweet at him on X at JT underscore the Ginger. We've got Kevin as SEA to believe, that's C to believe. Sean is Nasty Billy 22. I am at Beatty underscore Matt. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Tell us what you think in the comments below. We've been off for a while, so we're going to talk two main topics here. Both are sad depending on how you feel about them. First one is the Mariners. That's right. The Mariners are still playing baseball because it's September and their season hasn't quite ended yet. What's the score right now? Oh no, 7-3 Padres right now.
Oh, what's
Um,
7-2 a second ago? So there you go. Looking up. What's 7-2?
All right. The Mariners won 2 of 3 from the St. Louis Cardinals recently. Split a 4-game series with the A's, lost 2 of 3 to the Angels on the road, and then this is as far back as I'm going to go. They won 2 of 3 against the Tampa Bay Rays at home. I'm going to give a live report. I went to the San Francisco Giants game on the Saturday after Dan Wilson had been named manager. Sitting in the 300 level. The roof was closed because it was raining that day. But as soon as we walked into our seats, Randy Arozarena made a diving catch. And then we thought he had gotten hurt on the play, so we were like, maybe we should just leave. But he was actually in. He stayed in the game, so that was good. But the Mariners were awful that game because they scored 2 runs on 6 walks from Blake Snell, and then they also scored on a fielder's choice. So, and then George Kirby got shelled on top of that. So that was not a great game. And surprisingly, the Mariners had a chance in the bottom of the ninth, but couldn't come through. So I didn't get to see the best game for the Mariners, but Sean and I are going to a game later this week. So hopefully they'll have a much better performance than the first time I saw them. Sean, what have you thought of the Mariners since our last podcast?
Um, I mean, the season's over. I mean, I guess that's my thought. Like since the last podcast, we were kind of beating around the bush last time. I'm also sad that I won't get here. Matt mispronounced Scott Servais' name anymore. But yeah. Other than that, yeah, just the pitching's kind of falling apart. But at a certain point, like it was on the hitters, and the hitters they're finally like hitting a little better. But I'm like, too little, too late, my guys. It's just what it is. I don't know how else to say it. It was just disappointing. They had their chances and they let it go right after the All-Star break. What they got beat by the Angels in the Detroit. They lost what 7 of 8, 6 of 7. What's up? I think they had like a 4-game series in there. I don't know. I was in Michigan when they were playing the Tigers, and I was like, people were like, "Oh, let's go out and eat for work," and I was like, "I'm not going to a bar. I don't want to see that effing team on the TV." And of course, we went to a bar, and I had to watch the start of the Mariners game. They ended up losing, but yeah, it was actually called out in we had like a fun little thing for work the night before, and they let me know that the Mariners had lost 11-1. So to everyone's team, the Tigers there. I was the one lone Mariner fan there. So it's rough. It was yeah, it's just rough, frustrating. I guess the bright side is it's almost over, and then we'll see if more changes are made. We'll see.
JT, what have your thoughts been on the Mariners these past few weeks?
Well, my first thought was Sean's reference to the mispronunciation. Yeah, it's a disservice to
Servais.
mispronounce
Servais.
survey. It's a disservice to
Thank you.
mispronounce service.
Thank you.
And yeah, it's seriously like you look at the standings and you're like, okay, if you're feeling optimistic, we're elbow to elbow with the Tigers. Man, it would have been nice to not lose 5 of 6 to them recently. We got Scooble twice, so I mean, best case scenario, you're probably 4-2 in that.
But
series.
you have a team a starting rotation of Scoobles. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you should be able to go 1-on-1 with maybe not like to the letter, but you should be able to pitch.
Oh,
Do you think
yeah.
Scooble has Scooble snacks? This is just a random question.
Maybe.
Zoinkies. Yeah.
Okay.
And then it's either you got to overtake the Twins or you got to take your own division and overtake the Astros. Um, the interesting thing is that they're both just either 3 or 4 games behind. It's just you're running out of it. It's a Hail Mary. It's technically what, a 6% chance right now. So just missed opportunity, missed just it's just frustrating. I think to listening to your guys' last podcast and trying to collect my thoughts and going into this one, I think it boiled down to um, not going into this last off season, but the one before, we had talked about like what kind of team are the Mariners going to be in terms of like philosophy and who could you try to emulate. And I remember specifically one of them was the Tampa Bay Rays. Like, wow, look at the success they have. But if you look at them this year, it's just they thrive or they die based on their farm system, and they're not spending any extra dollars outside of that. And they keep it lean and they keep it mean. And if they've scouted well and the guys play well, they've had really good teams. And the Mariners is, I guess that's the formula is what I'm looking at. We've had an excellent, homegrown group of starting pitching arms, and it's just like the hitting has escaped us, and we keep trying to trade for these, like, I don't know, like dominate the plate, line drive hitters, and it's just hasn't worked out the last 2 seasons, and it's just kind of futile, and this is kind of like a result of it. It's close but not good enough. And I know only one team wins the World Series at the end of it, but man, just getting the playoffs and having the pitching staff we do would just, I'd say Zoinkies. I'd tweet it out every time, but yeah, missed opportunity, unfortunately.
Kevin, what have you thought?
Yeah. I'm glad to see that Service went. Probably should have been done a little bit sooner. Same, inconsistencies with the bats. Having Edgar come in, it's kind of brought a little bit of a spark to the bats. It's just disappointing to kind of see this rotation go to waste. Like one of the top rotations in baseball is not going to go see the playoffs when pitching wins, in the playoffs. It's not technically, I mean, they could essentially, because they're only 4 back right now and then 3.5 a wild card. They essentially can't really lose anymore. And it's tough because we're playing San Diego, then you have the Yanks, and then you also have a series against the Astros. Like, if you can sweep the Astros and then win your series, every series that you have, like, you're in kind of a good-ish spot. But
You just got to sweep the Astros.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you definitely have to sweep the Astros and essentially have to win every other series up until to have a chance. So, and that's still asking for, you essentially have to win out. Is what you need to do. So yeah, it's definitely been a bummer. We've gone over it so many times in this podcast. Like, you just Stan, the ideal situation is we get rid of Stan. He sells the team out to somebody to where we can, because he's holding that back. But and then of course ballpark changes and stuff like that. But I mean, it's good to see that the minors, our farm system is still doing pretty dang good. So there's a plus side to that our farm system is going ham. But unfortunately, it doesn't help for this season, which we've been talking on past episodes, seasons back, that this was kind of the season where things needed to turn the corner type of deal. So I hope that we can get super lucky to where we just have a hot streak and Houston or the Tigers or whoever just falls off. But yeah, to comment on JT's end, looking back at those 2 Tigers series, really, I mean, there was other series too but those ones kind of sting a little bit. So
Yeah. I mean, I moved on to football season towards the beginning of September after
You
the
would.
hoopla. Of course I would. Absolutely. It's like a yearly tradition for a Mariners fan to move on to football when you can see your team is inevitably out of it. But um, I think there you go. I think I mean you guys already mentioned it, so we'll talk about it. You guys can elaborate more, but Service is a fall guy. Like, let's be real. Like that's what he is in this scenario. I mean, obviously the responsibility is all around the organization, top to bottom. Stan Dipoto, Service, who was the fall guy for this, and absolutely the players. Like, the players have to perform. Um, I was a little shocked with the reporting that they're bringing Dipoto back. I thought he might be on his like kind of last ditch effort with the service firing. But I don't. On one hand, like, the Mariners have had pretty solid seasons for the last like 4 years. Winning seasons, fun differential, all that good stuff. But I think that we need to start accepting that this is their ceiling. They're not gonna nothing's gonna change because ownership's not willing to spend money. Dapota's gonna have to do what he has to do to try and put a winning team together. And I think we need to start treating that playoff season as the exception, not the norm, because I think after that season, our expectations as fans and especially as that team went through the roof. And I think now, in hindsight, I think that was overhyped or an over expectation because Sean and Kevin and even JT have talked about the plan of building the team and the system, and this was supposed to be the year. And certainly we have the pitching, but the hitting has just not come around. So I don't know how to explain it.
I do.
But it's like, why are we expecting different results when the same thing happens every year? Like, nothing changes. They try and do a few things, and it's pretty much the same result every time. So Dipoto coming back, like, that's fine with me because he has put together a pretty good pitching staff and a winning team at the very least. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend like this Mariners team next year is going to be all like really good or expect to make the playoffs, because they have come up short every time except for once, every time under Dipoto. And I understand the whole ownership thing, but it's also the catch-22 of he sells the team and they move the team somewhere else. So it's kind of like we're in a no-win situation as fans, and there's not really a whole lot that's going to change other than fan support, it seems like. And I think next year, if the attendance drops and they don't win, I don't see how you keep Dipoto. So we'll see what happens, but it's just frustrating as a fan to know that this team can do it and they just can't get it done for whatever reason. Sean, you said you had a reason?
Yeah. This team on paper should have been a playoff team. The largely the results fall on four people: your boy JP Crawford, Julio Rodriguez, Mitch Garver, and Jorge Polanco. They're all much better than they played this year, and they colossally just failed. That's half your lineup. They failed across the board.
Well, can we say that JP was injured for like half the year?
It doesn't matter. You still got to play. He's still been terrible since he came back. He was terrible before and terrible since he's come back. He's been awful. He's been absolutely awful.
I know, but when you're not out there to play, you get blamed, but you're not out there to play. So, but yeah, you're right.
When you play and you're still bad, but
he kind of came back and they were already out of it.
But he was bad before. He was very bad before he got hurt. Like, he's the reason they were in the position that they were in. Like, it was just horrible. Like, all of their WRC pluses the season before are like average like 120, and none of the four of them even have 100. I'm like baking in, like, when they were bringing in Mitch Garver, bringing in Jorge Polanco, I'm like, I can take like 90% of what you've been the last 3 years. I'm building in some ballpark regression, but you were just those two, and Julio had his worst year as a pro. Same with, like, when half of your lineup just forgets how to play baseball. That's just what it was. That's what it came down to. And ballpark's a factor, but like, JP and Julio have been good in this ballpark before. Why are they not good this year? Why were they so bad this year? I know batting average is not a thing, but JP's batting under 200 right now. Like, what are we actively doing right now? That's the reason we're not here. Mitch Garver's WRC plus, what is it? Like, has been like 130 the last 3 years average. What's it right now? Is it 60? Like, He just picked a hell of a 84. He picked a hell of a year for all the bats just to like forget how to hit. Except like that's the thing. Like if those 4 or 3 of them hit, we're probably in the playoffs at this point. It's just the 4 of them picked a hell of a time at the same time, the same year to not figure out how to hit. Like, are you telling me if they figure out how to hit, like, let's just say they're all average bats, and you're running out like this lineup with those guys, they're all average bats. Like, this lineup looks so good because Victor Robles has been good, Cal Raleigh's been good, Randy, Luke Raley, Justin Turner. That's 5 people. We have 4 other bats I talked about. You can't even play them all with the same position. Then you have a WRC plus over 100 as a team. And if you get above average hitting with this team, we all know we all know the end result, right? Right? Like if you get above average hitting with this team and this pitching staff, you're definitely in the playoffs right now as it stands. Does anyone disagree with that? Like, and those 4 are gonna do it because they fucked this up. And there's other players that are, but like I'm not leaning on like what was it? Josh Rojas coming into the season. He really bailed us out in the beginning, or we would have been even worse. He was the only one doing anything for a while. Even Cal Raleigh struggled to start. Josh Rojas saved us, and the guys we thought were like major league hitters screwed this up royally, and they got Scott fired because they could not hit to even close to the back of their baseball cards. That's what it came down to. They didn't play like they were supposed to play, like they can play and they've played in the past. And like as we saw with like maybe other places going the other way, why other players leave and continue to hit well. I'm not even blaming the ballpark. Again, they're hitting 70 points. Like what is it like? Mitch Garver's hitting like 50 points WRC points plus worse. That's not a stadium factor. Stadium is a factor in that, but it is not, the stadium's not causing you to hit 40 WRC plus points worse in a stadium. There's no stadium in history that's existed like that. Like you're just not playing baseball anymore. And I get like to JG's point, like we're doing like small moves. Mitch Garver's not like the all-star. You can't bank on him being this. And I'm again banking in the regression. You just can't fall off a cliff. Like the cliff is what's been killing us. Like Colton Wong fell off a cliff and doesn't play baseball anymore. It took Jesse Winker 2 years to become a baseball player again. Like and that to I guess your point, Matthew, comes down to Scott and Jerry and the major league scouting front office. Why do when professional hitters come here, I get they're gonna hit worse, but why do all of these guys come here and their career ends? Like we have to figure something out. Like, how does this keep happening?
Maybe that was the crux of it. Maybe Servais was a big proponent of we can make it work, and with the batting coach there, maybe maybe it's part scapegoat, part like, hey, we've seen this 2 straight years, and it's just like we need a reset. We know we can pitch well in this ballpark, especially, and it's just like I'm looking at a JP Crawford quote from September 6th about Edgar Martinez just being in the clubhouse and the recent kind of little mini turnaround they've had. And he goes, quote, man, it's been huge. It's been really good. He's been helping everyone here. The advice he gives is so simple, and it really works in a way better than anything else. It's just like what was the philosophy before? Was it just over inundated with analytics? Did in a way, did they need to get back to basics in terms of, just that 95, keep it alive, believe, mentality that we keep going back to, milking that cow? I love the meme. But I feel like maybe there's something more there in terms of just hitting philosophy in general, because I agree. It's like no free agent that we've brought in as a batter has really like completely changed or like extremely moved the needle in terms of the outlook in the preseason. All those names, Polanco and Garver, is like, okay, cool, major league hitter. Like none of them, it was just like, oh, here we go, big boys, big toys. Like let's do this. Batman, Robin, Julio's got a partner in crime. Bash Bros. Whatever it was, there's nothing like, oh, watch out, AL West, here we're coming. So it's just kind of, it's always been that kind of like try to lock it down on pitching and score enough just to win. And when that fails, it's just like it's the percentage of outcomes. If you feel like you have elite pitching and that quote fails, you're probably still 70th percentile. But if your batting is below league average in a almost a best case scenario, or league average in a best case scenario, and it does not perform, that's a 20th, 30th percentile outcome. Is just like that's not really going to cut it. And that's just bad, gambling. That's just playing the odds poorly.
I do have a stat here since Edgar took over. It is, since August 23rd, to JT's point, they are fourth in WRC plus since he took over. And again, we're not in the clubhouse. We're not. I don't know if like he is substantially doing something else, because I know last time he was the hitting coach, they were really good also, and a number of years ago. I don't know what Edgar does, if he's doing anything, if it's a small sample size, opponents and things like that. I don't know, but like to JT's point, something at the major league level has to change, how they're scouting guys or something like that. Because JT's like, oh, Mitch Garver, Polanco. I was like, I would love it if they came here with just major league average players. The problem is they come here, they're not even major league average players. They're like, you can't roster them. And it's just like, how did we get from like, you're an all-star 2 years ago to like, you're not rosterable like now, like 3 months later?
Let's let Kevin have his comments, and I want to ask you a question, Sean.
Yeah.
Well, and I wish I pushed. I don't know if I can't remember if I posted the group or not. But there was a former Mariner player that went on MLB Tonight. I think it was like a week and a half or 2 weeks ago, that said that Scott Servais, he's like, there's like head coaches out there that had that, like, you can come in my office anytime and like we can go over stuff like that. And essentially said that Scott Servais was not one of those guys. Like, if you came into his office, like, you would get like, it would just be awkward and just kind of be like, all right, get the fuck out kind of type of deal. Like, now, and he said that other players felt the same. And of course, like, that doesn't speak to all the players and stuff like that. And we don't know how much of that is really true. But I mean, if that is the mentality going into it, that's probably, that's not the best thing. But at the same time, there's also hitting coaches and other things that you can go to other than Scott. But you should also be able to feel like you can go to your head coach and like ponder off ideas on, be like, hey, what do you think I should do? Like in this, because that's part of being a head coach essentially. But, and it was, for reference, it was, I can't remember his name, but he was one that we got in the Tampa Bay trade a while back. He's like a small, fast utility player.
Malik Smith?
I think it was Malik Smith.
We have so many Tampa Bay trades.
I want to say it was Malik Smith. Yeah.
I have no idea.
I'm like 90% sure it was Malik Smith.
But, that guy was Malik Smith. I was like,
but, and honestly, most of the time too, sometimes it just takes like sometimes having a new vibe. Like, just new vibes can sometimes raise mentality. Like, sure, is it probably better that we have a Hall of Famer as our hitting coach right now? I would imagine, yeah. Like, having Edgar Martinez as your hitting coach definitely is going to help. But sometimes, change the water can help boost things where people are just, because a lot of it can be mental, like stuff like that. But there's also switch changes, like for like literally like 2/3 of the season, Julio was batting off the front of his foot instead of off his back foot, which it's just terrible in swinging. Like, and he knows better than that. Like, they even pointed it out on MLB Tonight. They're like, this is horrible, like, swinging batting position. Like, you should not be on like front loaded on your front foot as you go into your swing. You don't get power from that. Like, and you're wondering why you're not getting any home runs or any good hits. Like, and that's something that hitting coaches should see and just be like, fix that type of shit. Like, Edgar, I imagine, probably see that and just like, no, like, what are you doing? Like, put all your weight here. Like, so honestly, we need more of a sample size going into next year. If Dan Wilson and Edgar stay, we'll probably have a little bit more of like, oh, it was that. But with the small sample size right now, it's unfortunately we don't have enough to say like, oh, that did make the difference,
So Sean mentioned some of these guys that brought in Garver, Polanco. What do you do with them? Sean, what do you do with them? You keep them? Try again?
I mean, I don't know how the inner workings like with the contracts work. It depends. I guess, are the ownership willing to eat it? Will they let me like spend the money? I guess like Garver, I'm probably done with. Like Toast, will they let me cut him? Like, I don't know. Polanco has turned it around a bit, and like my other question comes to like, and he's only got one more year if you pick up his option. do you like let him play part of the year? I guess this is a question for everybody else. I generally don't know. Do you let him play part of the year and then like hope Cole Young is ready by All-Star break next year, and then just let Cole Young take the job if Polanco kind of can't get it done for half a season? Like, I mean, what
I
else do you
really
have
like
if you cut Polanco? What are we doing to start the season next year? Because again, you have a good rotation, and if you just start with like a nothing at second base, I feel like you're kind of wasting
Dylan
us
Moore,
for the
baby.
start of this. What? I mean, Dylan Moore's fine for like a guy, but like you don't want to play him every day. And like I feel like Cole Young, don't rush him. He had a 4-hit night again tonight. Like just don't rush him. But like I feel like you kind of just keep him because you don't know what else you have. Mitch Garver, you can't be a DH and do that. Anybody could come up and hit better than you're doing. So I don't care about Mitch Garver. He needs to go like right away. And I'm shocked too. I thought Jerry was gone. Like as soon as like Scott was fired, like he's done. So, but I guess whatever. But
well, I mean, I think Dipoto. I really hope Dipoto goes as ham as he can in the offseason because, as far as I'm concerned, you got 1 year to prove it.
Yeah.
I would, and I think a lot of Mariners fans are already at that point. So
yeah, right, Matthew.
you've
That
gotta,
Scott was the downfall, the guy who took the fall for the team.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's been well documented, Ryan Divish and everything, that they were basically Scott and Jerry were lied to. They were saying, "Hey, you're going to get money this offseason," and then ownership was like, "No, you have to cut salary actually." So I mean, I don't know what Jerry doesn't have a track record of if he were to give them that money, like maybe make good plays for it, but it would have been nice to have more money rather than less money. I mean, I think we'd all agree on that. But like,
true.
I mean, until at a certain point though, it becomes Jerry's job to, because he's very good at convincing them to keep him, but you also have to convince the ownership to spend the money. I mean, it's kind of your job to convince ownership. I mean, I get if they're not going to no matter what, then your hands are kind of tied. But I mean, who I don't want to.
And I get the blame on ownership, but at the same time, like
ownership's not
like
changing.
I'm gonna expect a rich person to do the right thing or understand what like a winning team would help make him more money. You know, it's just
yeah.
Like I don't know. There's no fixing ownership unless they sell the team, and then the team might be gone. So it's just like I get people want them to sell the team, but I don't see that happening and fans winning. I think if the team is sold, they move. I think they would move to Portland or something.
Depends.
That would be my guess.
But I mean, like, yeah, ownership just can't move. It's the hand you're dealt, unfortunately, and then you have to work around that. And to your point, Matt, I think upside for them, honestly, the most part, unless you get really lucky, is like the Rays. Like, are the Rays really ever a World Series contender? Maybe if you get a good year or two in it, but like, if you're not gonna spend any money, like you said, like you have good pitchers, but like JT's point, like, are you really gonna supplement it with like real dudes that you're scared of? Like, are you gonna get Julio some help? And I don't know if this ownership's ever gonna allow that to happen, really, to the fact that they need to. I'm just saying a Juan Soto's out there. Just break the absolute bank for a Juan
I'm not
Soto.
even gonna put that as a believable thought
do
in
it.
my brain.
It's never gonna happen. But could you imagine the absolute long con of long cons and like they just pull a Juan Soto this offseason and just like that would just be like the craziest thing. It's never gonna happen, but just for a split second, allow yourself to dream.
Right. I'd rather the Mariners literally say, "Hey, we got a bunch of young bucks down in the farm system." Like, it's just not done these days based on team control and just all this stuff. But it's just like I would rather fail or be mediocre with a bunch of 21, 22-year-olds. You know, we know who we're talking
Orioles
about.
kind of do that.
In the
Orioles just
farm
kind of say F
system.
it and do it. Orioles and the Royals are just like F it, let's do it live.
And
like, yeah,
I don't know if it could. I mean, it probably could be a little bit worse, but at least you could say, all right, they're cutting their teeth, they're getting their hacks in, and maybe it'll be fruitful. I don't know. I just like it's like we keep moving a bunch of C-level major leaguers, and it's just like at a certain point, it's just like, well, we got a bunch of young guys. Let's see what they can do. Like it's a fantasy. I don't think it'd happen.
it can't be worse, JT.
What do you got to lose?
Yeah, no, at this point, I don't think it can be worse, JT, because it's either a playoffs or not. And right now you're not. So it doesn't matter if you're the first team out or the last team out. It's not a playoff spot. It doesn't matter where you finish other than in or out. And call up Harry Ford and Cole Young. Be like, you're DH backup catcher, and you're going to hit every day, and Cole Young, you're going to play second. Figure it out. Do it live.
Yeah.
Sure. Why not?
Yeah.
Why
Let's-
not?
let's-
All right.
and then-
We got a
and
little
then
bit of
get Juan
time
Soto.
before our
Juan Soto.
sponsorship break. Kevin, you got a prospect report?
Oh gosh, yeah. Let me pull it up real quick. Sorry, I had it.
We talked last time. I'll say this.
I
while
mean,
Kevin pulls it
Lazaro
up.
Montez. Is
Yeah,
still
we
a
were like,
sexy
oh,
girl.
Montez is adjusting. He adjusted, and he adjusted real hard.
Yeah.
I gotta-
Hold on, let me put it up here. Yeah.
Let's say, where did he go?
Bring him
let's
up.
see here.
Oh, his WRC plus is 125 at 19 in high A. The guy who's actually going absolute bananas is Michael Arroyo at high A, also 19 years old. 155 WRC plus. For those that don't know, again, 100 is average. He is 50% better than the average hitter.
Yeah. Cole
At
Young.
19 years old in high A, he is 3 years younger than the average person.
Bring him up.
Cole Young still going off.
Maybe that's a little aggressive, Matthew. I don't know if
Nope.
JT had that in mind.
YOLO. Let's do it.
19-year-old.
We're
He's the
out of
next
it.
one, Soto.
Let's see
Let's
it.
do it. Let's do it.
Can't get worse.
Call him up. Call Colt Emerson up. Just F it. Do it live. I mean, honestly, if Jerry's job's on the line, but I'm Jerry might burn it to the ground. like you're a high prospect. You're top 10 in my farm. Calling you up. What's the pitcher that we have at Double A that's like everyone wants? Logan Evans. Call him up. They're like, we have pitchers. I don't care. Call him up. I don't like whatever. Michael Morales. Call him up. Like, who cares? Every pitcher who's got hype, you're just like, do it live. Let's just do it. It'd be really interesting though. Bears would be the talk of baseball if you did that. Call up your 19-year-old who's barely played. I love it though.
Essentially, it's like the Cole Young, Colton Emerson, and Barry Ford show from what I'm seeing. Just
Ty
going
Pete has got
ham.
himself back to fighting injuries, but he has gotten back to like playing well.
Mhm.
Farmello still 130 WRC plus. Just got hurt again though. But Johnny Farmello, if you could stay healthy, man, just turned 20. But wait a second. Johnny Farmello's birthday is 9/9. That's a good bit. That's a good birthday, Johnny. I knew I liked you a lot, so there you go. I didn't know we shared a birthday, so congrats, you just turned 20. But yeah,
You want to hear Lazaro Montez numbers?
yes.
Okay, so here's 288, 397, 44, 88, 881, 129 hits, 21 home runs, 82 runs, 105 RBIs, 78 walks, 5 stolen bases, WRC plus of 138. Like, Jesus.
I was gonna say him and Michael Morales are tearing up high A right now. They're tearing up high A right now, and none of it's like crazy. Like, not a high BABIP. Like, they're just killing it. They're just killing it. So
All right.
Honestly, Jared Sunstrom's numbers aren't bad either. Holy crap. Like, that might be one to look at.
he's
But
Put a
pretty
pin in
nice.
that.
He's
We'll be
23.
right back after these messages from our sponsors. Welcome back to Washington East to West Sports. Thank you so much to our sponsors and our advertisers. If you want to advertise, go ahead and comment under this video or subscribe and just let us know that you want to be a sponsor or an advertiser. Go ahead and tweet at us your opinions of the Mariners. And our next topic, the Seahawks. I am at Matt. Sean is at Nasty Billy 22. Kevin is at CU to Believe. That's SEA to Believe. And JT is at JT_ the Ginger on X or Twitter. It's football season, guys. It's officially football season. College is back, high school's back, and the pros are back. Seahawks had their first game this past Sunday. They won 26-20 over the Denver Broncos.
Spoiler alert.
Oh yeah, if you have it recorded and you haven't watched it yet, sorry.
You're just
too
waiting
late
on
for you.
that all 22 footage.
Yeah. Gino 18-25, 171, a touchdown to pick. Kenneth Walker 20 for 103 and 1, and Tyler Lockett 6 for 77. Kevin, you're first on my screen here in the panel. So, what'd you think of the Seahawks in their Week 1 game?
I mean, it was kind of like a tale of two halves, essentially. First half was a hot pile of garbage. Essentially, the O-line couldn't block to save their lives. I was debating, putting up a call to like you guys and like our friend Brett and anybody, because like we might just have to go in there and do it because apparently we would be better blockers than what was currently on the field at the moment, or just put in 4 traffic cones and a teddy bear, and that would probably because they at least would look at the teddy bear and they'd be like, oh, that's cute, buy some time for Gino to actually have a 3-step drop back. But yeah, it was not pretty. Just the pass protection and the run blocking protection was just not great to where nothing. And plus, we just kept shooting ourselves in the foot too. Like, but a lot of that was kind of just contributed to just the O-line not being in sync. Whether just bad blocking schemes, just I don't know, which they essentially fixed in the second half to where the offense looked a lot better. Like it was a little bit more balanced. They actually, put in the run game. They were going based off what you're seeing. If the safeties were deep and the box was less stacked, go to like the run. It was more based off like what they were seeing and going off of that. So defensively, I was a little bit more surprised. But at the same time too, I have to put caution on it, which I'll explain later. Which I have a feeling you all kind of know why I'm saying caution. But it was very refreshing just to not see the same 2 schemes run. Like it was mixed and disguised a little bit, and like just different, just a more variety of scheming, and like just better all coverage and tackling. Like it felt like even when they got the ball downfield, when Bo Nix passed it for 4 yards, because apparently he can't really pass it for more than 6. Like it wasn't pretty. But when he made a completion, it felt like somebody was just there, like instantly just wrapping up. Now of course there was a couple of hiccups every now, but like all in all, good defensive, like especially with the amount of us just circus play, like and shooting ourselves in the foot like over and over, like only giving up that amount of points was huge, to where they could come back and make it a game. So why I say caution is that that we don't know yet, because that offense, other than the offensive line, is just a hot mess. Like Bo Nix is a rookie quarterback in his first game. Not saying Bo Nix won't amount to anything, but he looked pretty bad. Other than that, he can run, which they relied on a little bit more often than. But like his passes beyond like 7 yards did not look great, and you have a good O-line. Like it's, I don't know. It seemed like they from what it was sounding, but I don't always trust announcers at the same time too. Like they were just giving them like one scheme looks, like this is your read. If it's not there, either try to run the ball or throw it the F out, like versus going through your progressions. But all in all, and like I said, as they even showed on the thing, like one bad game doesn't mean that he's a dud. Like he could eventually, like John Elway was benched in his first game. Like you can progress and get better. And Sean Payton is a good offensive head coach. With a good O-line, hopefully the kid can develop down the line. It was just really good and beneficial to us that we got to see him in his first game, but offensively, essentially the issues just seem to be on the O-line. There were a couple times where, and we saw it too, where Gino stepped up and ran it. I mean, he ran it for a touchdown, but I thought there was a couple other times where I felt like Gino could have just, could have stepped up and just ran, even if for 5 yards, like either throw the ball out, or if you see an opening, step up, run, and try to get some yards but also protect yourself. Don't get murdered. But all in all, I was for an opening for the first half of how awful it was. I thought it was an okay opener, and we have room to grow hopefully they will get on that O-line about blocking a little bit more. Of course, losing George Fant that early, popping in Stone Forsyth was probably not what they wanted. So that didn't go according to plan. But I mean, you got to account for injuries anywho. So, but all in all, I would get, like, if I had to rank it, I'd give it a B. Like, thought it was good.
I'll take it from here. So the first half, 2 plays in, Gino throws that interception. I'm thinking, here we go. Here we go. But the first half, as Kevin mentioned, was really bad. And then second half, they got the ball after Denver punted, and then Kenneth Walker had that 23-yard touchdown run. Then I get a call from the storage unit company that I have my storage unit at and say that someone broke the lock and opened it up and went in there. So I had to go deal with that. And then I came back and I caught perfect timing where the play where Bo throws his second interception and you hear the announcer go, "Oh no," because he throws it into triple coverage and Tariq Woolen is right there. Yeah,
that's Adam Archuleta.
Yeah, I forgot his name. But yeah, that was as Kevin mentioned, I was pleased with the defensive performance. It seemed like they were playing free and flying around and having a lot of fun out there. There is, of course, an asterisk because it was a rookie quarterback in his first game on the road. I think, and Bo Nix wasn't even the worst rookie quarterback on the day, but it was definitely, I think if another team is, on the other side, probably don't win that game. So definitely the schedule helped with having Denver there with a rookie quarterback. And Sean Payton, like, I think he kind of babied him a little bit, and also probably because it was warranted based on any pass he threw further than like 5 yards. Because it just seemed like he just wasn't, quite up to the speed of the pros quite yet. Because, while you played Oregon and you had a lot of good competition there when you were playing some of the Pac-12 teams, it's a little bit different with the speed and the level of play in the NFL. And like that throw where he gets picked off by Julian Love, I'm just really not sure what's going through his head there. So definitely a good defensive performance, but we'll see how it holds up against better offenses. We won't see that next week, and we'll get to that at some point. But we'll see how that defense performs against your Rams, your 49ers, and some of these better offenses. So, but overall, very happy with the defensive performance. I thought the secondary looked very good. I really like Weatherspoon and Tariq Woolen. I thought they looked very good out there. The one guy I thought kind of stood out, who isn't one of the bigger names, was is it Kayvon Wallace? I believe it is. Did I get the right name?
Oh, the DB room.
The number 2. Give me a roster here.
Hold on, pulling up.
Who does number 2 work for?
Rayshawn Jenkins. Sorry about that.
Rayshawn Jenkins, the other safety.
Sorry about that. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought he had a very good game. He was flying around making tackles. So I thought he played well. And Tyrell Dodson, I actually thought looked pretty good at the linebacker position. So I think this defense has potential. And, Byron Murphy, I think, looked pretty solid in his first game. He was drawing some double teams, and that opened things up for Jaron Reed and Leonard Williams. So I think this defense has a lot of potential, and we'll see how they do against some of the better offenses. Offensively, I've heard a lot of things like Gino wanted a new contract. I'm personally very happy I didn't give it to him. No offense, Gino, but it feels like this is your prove it year, because you've been 9-8 the last 2 years, and while that's winning more than you lose, you've got to make some progress for me to want to give you a contract. So it's going to be a prove it year, and I think this offense has a lot of potential. I saw Charles Cross was the highest rated offensive tackle this week, so it didn't really look like it when you were watching the game go, but he had a pretty good game. And then obviously you mentioned Stone Forsyth coming in there just having a rough time. So DK didn't get going really. JSN didn't really get going. Tyler had a pretty solid game, and then Kenneth got it going in the second half. So it felt kind of like a Pete offensive game, where the first half was just awful, and then the second half they like turn it on and figure it out and win. So The spirit of Pete lives on in Seattle, I guess, but hopefully they can. I see Kevin's face, and hopefully they clean up the offense, and we'll see how the defense does against the real offense. Sean, what do you think?
I think so. The advanced stats are out. It doesn't say nice things about Geno too much, but I think it's hard to grade Geno because and Grubbs in the first half because the offensive line, other than Cross, was 4 traffic cones. It was awful. It was, I mean, like we saw it there. It was just they couldn't do anything. It wasn't so much, and again, I don't think a couple of guys were talking film wise as plays broke down. The Seahawks are doing good things. I don't think anything really much changed from the first and second half, other than the O line got a little bit more help and it played a little better, and they got a little bit of tight end help on blocking. But like Denver didn't do anything good. I don't think Denver's a good team even at all, remotely in anything they do. So Seahawks, this game gets ugly if the Seahawks just aren't the worst O line in the first half in the entire league. Like if it's that, it's probably over at halftime. And this it looks more like the second half than the first half. There's 2 of those, and it's probably over by the third quarter. To Kevin's point, I'm not sure, and a lot of people are talking about it, that we know that Sean Payton is a good offensive coach. We know that Drew Brees is very good at playing quarterback. He has to prove it, and he did not prove it last year, and he's not proving it now. Bo Nix, again, yes, he's a rookie and everything like that. But to your point as well, Kevin, I saw people saying like Elway got benched and all that stuff. It is not 1984 anymore. Rookie quarterbacks are expected to do a lot more day one. I mean, we saw CJ Stroud. We like we saw some of these other guys like
Caleb Williamson. Okay.
Caleb was at like 96 yards passing, and they won the game. He was not good. He was not good.
The Bears set him up to fail too, but he did not look good. The Bears were like running the ball 6. I was like, I have the Bears guy. Like, it's a close game, and I'm like, he has 6 carries, and it's the end of the third quarter. I'm like, why has Caleb Williams dropped back 32 times and you have 6 rushes? What do we do? Like, run the freaking ball like once or twice. Like, you're not setting up your rookie quarterback to succeed here. Like, calm down a little bit. But like, but rookie quarterbacks are expected to play better. He played like garbage. He was awful. Bo Nix was awful, and Bo Nix did almost nothing. It was just awful for the Broncos. It did not look good. He got his stats padded by that garbage time touchdown with like 4 minutes left or whatever. Like, he did nothing good. On the other side, the Seahawks. I was telling our friend Rachel, you can't take a ton away from when you play a bad offense like the Broncos, but good defenses are supposed to embarrass those offenses, and the Seahawks defense did. They embarrassed the Broncos. If the Seahawks aren't getting safeties, if they're not turning it over and they're kicking gimme field goals inside the 20, starting inside the 20, the Broncos had like 2 drives the whole game, and one was in garbage time at the end of the game. Like, in the other one, they drove down and he threw the pick. Like, that was really it. The Seahawks dominated other than that, like absolutely dominated them. So you did what you did what you're supposed to. I'll say, like, to Kevin's point, the team tackled for once in like 8 years. And I was like, oh my gosh, they're tackling people. Like, people aren't running away. Like, they're getting up and wrapping up. I told somebody, I was like, I feel like that's a game that Pete Carroll coach Seahawks lose or have to make a crazy fourth quarter comeback. Because, like, again, that defense played so well and so efficiently and tackled. The old defenses would never have tackled like that. They never would have allowed those things. The running game, it just would have never worked that way. And it looked night and day difference with, again, I say it the third time, the tackling looked like completely, and they got guys who were not like world beaters at linebackers. It wasn't just linebackers. It was like the schemes were like, they'd bring a corner off knowing Bo Nix is going to immediately read to, I'll give JT one, give the hot route, and like throw it to the guy who just left. And the safety comes up. Julian Love played great, made the tackle right away. Boom. They did it all the time with the corners. The other safety linebacker, they're like, you're gonna throw the hot route. I'm gonna pounce on it. Now, when they play better quarterbacks and they think they're gonna go that way, and then double move or something like that, we'll see how it goes there. But like, we thought this defense could be awful. I still have faith that the offense will be good. And we said this before. I was like, it's gonna go as far as the O-line can take us. And the first half made me very nervous about my statement. Like, I had our buddy Henry text me. He goes, Sean, you might have been horribly right about the offensive line. I was like, I didn't think they would be this bad. I was just nervous that they might not be like a good offensive line, but I'm like, this team cannot give up 2 safeties and a half anymore. Like, I thought we were in for like, because I think Gino played pretty well. It's just that like dudes are in his face all the time. There's no way. People are like, oh man, we decided to run in the second half. I go, no, we decided to run the first half and it didn't work in the first half. Kenneth Walker got stuffed for a safety in the first half. We didn't run it different.
But he did like suplex that guy. You remember that play where he just
it
was for negative one.
We're like, see the running game. We're running it. I'm like, we ran the entire first half, and Kenneth Walker got murdered, and Walker got hurt, and Charbonnet had to come in like in the first half. Like I'm like, we just got destroyed on the O line. It doesn't matter what Kenneth Walker, what plays Grubbs called, what Gino does. If they were sieving people through the line, it does not matter. And then the second half adjustments really don't mean anything. They're making adjustments in the game. Mike McDonald actually said this. Grubbs said this at halftime. They're like, there's no such thing as like crazy halftime adjustments. You don't have any time. Andy Reid has said it. He's like, it's 20 minutes. You get in the locker room. What are you going to do in 10 minutes? Maybe if you have 10 minutes to set up a game plan with your whole team. Everyone's getting changed, doing all that stuff. They're going to go out for warmups again. You don't have that much time. You have like maybe 5 minutes to talk to the whole team. Like you're not implementing some crazy changes. They're being made real time anyways. I think though they saw something, they were working on something. Grubbs was figuring it out. They worked on the O-line, and that's all it took. That shift for Gino played so good in the second half. Kenneth Walker's running everywhere. That's just like how the offense should have been from the rip. It just took a second to get there. I can't imagine it's going to be that way against every good D-line because the Broncos, again, have nothing. It's not going to be that way against like every team, but like that looked good against a bad team. I don't care about the score because it started off so bad, but like real score is probably going to be like 7 to like 35. Like that's really probably what that score would have been if like the Seahawks offensive line, other than Cross, just played like garbage. That was a really largely encouraging thing if this O-line can continue. The offense is really good. Tyler Lockett, I was really worried about Tyler Lockett. Is like, how's he going to look? Is he healthy? He's been not playing all preseason. His knee was bothering him even coming into this week and saved the game with that one-handed catch. Like he was catching everything still, making cuts the same. I'm like, that's great. Everyone's like, throw it to DK. I'm like, who cares about like Patrick Surtain's a beast, top 3 corner in football. I'm like, you are the Seahawks. You have wide receiver depth. Don't even throw it over there. Make Surtain just like run around and cover nothing. Let Tyler and JSN do their thing. And they did their thing. I'm like, you don't have to feed DK. Waste your best corner over there and pick on the second and third corners because that's why you have 3. That's why you have 3 great wide receivers. You don't need to pick on like the Jalen Ramsey or the Sauce when they come into town. You could pick on the other guys and make the Jets move their corner around or do whatever he's going to do. This is what we happened. Me and Kevin had this conversation like a couple years ago, and everyone's like 3 years ago in the Arizona, where everyone's like, DK's tearing it up, and everyone's like, we're like, Tyler's the best receiver. The Arizona for one game's like, we're covering DK with our best. We're shifting coverage over there, and Tyler went for like 210 and 3 touchdowns. And everyone's like, immediately scrapped everything we just said, and everyone just went back to covering Tyler. And I was like, yes, like make them do that. They're like, okay, if you think Tyler's gonna go off, leave DK, see how that goes for you. But like, the offense in the second half looked so much better. The defense dominated from start to finish. We played the Patriots, still not a great team, but like, let's see what their defense is going to be much better coached than the Broncos. Let's see what you got. And it was way more encouraging than I thought coming into this game. I was pleased that final score be damned. That's not showing how much the Seahawks actually dominated this game.
JT with the Seahawks hat on. What'd you think?
A new Seahawks hat.
Nice.
Baller on a budget. Found it for $22. You're jealous. Let's see. I'm from the Kevin Malone school of thought. If it's a 10,000 to 1 odds, you take the bet. Yeah. And I took the bet and I lost. I bet the over on 2.5 safeties in the first half, and I missed it. I just barely missed it.
Always. Now, was that both teams or just one team gets 2.5 safeties?
It could have been
either way. That's
okay. Yeah.
It could have been the whole season. Like like what? Just yeah. So I visually watched with my eyeballs the second half, but I was keeping up on my phone doing chores for the first half. And you're welcome. Once I watched the Seahawks, they just kicked it into high gear. I like my offensive coordinators to be in the booth. And of recent, I don't remember too many of our Seahawks offensive coordinators calling plays from the booth. I think the future is get a little VR set for them and get them an all 22 look. If you want to steal that idea, Seahawks, we can talk.
I think Schottenheimer did, but that was the only one I
Yeah, Schotty was the last one. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Scotty, yeah.
So I just thought of the all 22 thing. So I was just throwing it out there, obviously. But yeah, in terms of they gave up a garbage touchdown late. I mean, semi garbage. I feel like maybe that could have been prevented. Or maybe they were playing too much prevent. I don't know what it was. But giving up a ton of field goals here and there, like it was okay. It wasn't a pretty win. It was fairly efficient, and for game one of the season, like I thought it was pretty solid outcome. And kind of overall, Walker had the 20 carries for over 100 yards. Lockett stood out in terms of how well he produced, and then how few snaps he took compared to DK and JSN. But overall, yeah, I think the long-term worry might be that O-line. We'll see how they shape up as we move forward. But yeah, all those tackles, that was super noticeable. A couple times, I swear I was super worried that who was it, Dodson? Like he had one tackle where he just extended his arm out, and I was like, oh, he's done. And he turned around, and he's celebrating everything. I'm like, okay, he's got shoulders of steel because he just took down, albeit like a check down to a running back, but it was just like it was so outside his frame. It made me just question. I don't know, what's his workout regimen. What's his protein intake? These are things I'm thinking of in between plays. You got 40 seconds, a lot of time to really
Yeah.
assess and think.
What do you have
But
for breakfast? I want to know.
I just was like, dang, he's got some strong shoulders. But
All right. Well, boys, it's our annual time. Let's make some predictions. So I gave you guys some prompts. Hopefully you're prepared. But let us start. I'll kick it off. Seahawks win-loss, and do they make the playoffs? I've seen a lot of things for expectations. Michael Sean Duger said they should expect to make the playoffs. Not really sure I believe that. Sean and a couple people have said they're rebuilding. Not really sure I believe that either. So I'm going right in the middle. I think they're going to be 9-8, and I think they do make the playoffs. JT, what do you think?
oh man, I'm refreshed in terms of outlook. Au revoir, Pete, and all that. But still kind of
He's
real.
a teacher now. He's a professor, so he's good.
Oh, okay. Get that pension, bro.
Yep.
But in terms of like trying to be a realist and understanding what kind of schedule lays ahead, especially later in the year, I've tallied a 7-10 record, and I have a just outside the playoffs not making it outcome.
All right. Sean?
I'll say by definition they're rebuilding. They have no money and no picks, so they had to hit a restart button at some point. Let's see, third least money next year, 3 picks. That's a rebuild. I've gone back and forth on this because before the season, I'm leaning towards around Matthew 8-9, 9-8. I'll probably I'll go, just not to be the same as Matthew. I think you're probably spot on 9-8 again. But I'll go 8-9 just to be different. Yeah.
Just outside, I assume then?
Yeah, not making playoffs.
Yeah.
No. I don't think even if they're 9-8, I don't know if they're making playoffs. Just the Rams and the 49ers look really good. It's hard to get 3 teams from the same division in. Honestly, I think if they were in like the South, they'd probably win the division, but they just play in a hard division, unfortunately.
Kevin, what do you think?
It's tough. Because I was counting the losses in my head. Because I think you lose both to the Niners. You probably split with the Rams, so that's 3. Probably losing to Josh Allen and the Bills, that's 4.
Probably losing to Miami.
Probably losing to the Dolphins, 5. I want to say you should lose to the Lions, but we beat them in Ford Field because Geno plays good in domes. But I'll still say that's a loss at 6. And then we're gonna have some random one. Probably the Packers, because Jordan Love is probably gonna be back by then. So I'm gonna say 10-7. I say they probably do make the playoffs, but get murdered.
All right, we got some dichotomy. Kevin, you ended that one. Give me your NFC West finish top to bottom.
Oh, NFC West.
Yeah.
Well, I think San Francisco takes it again. They looked pretty dang good. I'm gonna say probably 12 wins.
Oh, you don't have to give wins, Kevin. We don't care. They're gonna win. Yeah. Just what the order you think it's gonna be.
The Rams are tough because you just lost Nakua. Looks like he's out for about 4 weeks. But you still have that guy who's super. I think his name is Cooper Kupp. Yeah, I hear he's really good. Yeah. So the defense is kind of like the question-ish for the Rams. So I think the Rams probably will be near us. I'm gonna say they go 10-7 as well, but I think we'll get the tiebreaker on them. So us in second with 10-7, Rams third and 10-7, and then Arizona probably I'm gonna say 7-10.
Going back around, Sean, what do you got?
I just want to say I looked up Puka Nacua, and his picture when you Google him is clearly the makeshift like picture of like generic football player from like Madden, and they literally pasted his face over it, but you can see the outline of the fake guy behind him.
What?
You Google it? Okay, hold on.
But let me share my screen. Just let me share my screen.
Oh, sorry.
Uh,
Hold on. Okay, there you go.
Okay. Where did I have it? Is it in here? Share. Puka. Oh, right here. You're blocking it. Can you see it?
Yeah.
God, yeah.
Yeah, they
What the
clearly just
hell?
pasted his face over the no image found.
That's a Yahoo search, bro. Of course. You said
Oh,
Google.
I
Come
did-
on.
Oh, sorry.
Google's better
I
than
typed it up
that.
here. Why did
Throw
I
Google under the
but, like,
bus.
No,
Yahoo, I expect even less. So I'm impressed
Yeah.
that they actually.
I did. I just was like, come on, like it's Puka Nacua. How do you not have like a big like he's that guy? You should probably know who that is. I say 49ers 1, Rams 2, Seahawks and Cardinals. Pretty good. The Rams' only issue is they have 2 third-string linemen right now and a backup lineman. But they have a third-string tackle and a backup tackle playing right now. And still almost went to Detroit and won, and went almost in overtime. So just Stafford's barreling off. So that's how it matters. But like they're just really good, and as long as they got Sean McVay, like Kevin said, they just keep pumping out wide receivers because they know how to do it. Kevin's your boy had a really good game for Colby Parkinson for the Rams, and the first week they're like, hey, we know how to use this third string tight end in San Francisco and Los Angeles. So yeah, it's gonna be San Francisco. They look so freaking good. Oh, can I have a bad beat real quick? I had the Jets kicker, and I needed 2 points to win the game, and they kicked 1 field goal, and then proceeded to they go for 2 points and down 40. They were down 13 and went for 2. So I lost. Thank you, stupid Jets. I hope you season burns down. You're down 13 with 40 seconds. Just kick the freaking field goal, and you didn't even get the extra 2 point. Like, what are you doing? Like, you were never gonna win. Like, why did he go for 2? Like, oh my, with a backup quarterback in. Sorry, but like, oh my gosh, I lost to my boss. Like, there we go. Like, it was ridiculous. But yeah, Jets deserve nothing good anymore. Yeah, 49ers look really good. Rams look really good for what they're dealing with, and the Cardinals actually, like Kevin's point, looked pretty solid. Hung around with Buffalo. It is 1 week, but they will be better than they've been in the past. That's for sure. With healthy Kyler.
If Kyler learns to throw to Marvin Harris Jr.
I mean, they almost beat him even without throwing it to him. It was a weird week. Fantasy quarterbacks were it was all over the place, but he still played pretty well in all things considered. Going to Buffalo against that defense on the road, they almost won. So, yeah.
JT, order finish.
For the NFC West,
Yep.
I got San Francisco, then the Rams, then Seattle, then Arizona.
All right. I've got the 49ers, and then I just can't quit Kyler Murray. So they're number 2, Seahawks 3, Rams 4.
Matthew, they have to just finish not last. Why do you keep like you're always like first or second? I'm
I
like, just
believe in
get him,
Kyler.
put
All
him,
right, I
put him in
believe. I
third. Like just
believe.
like
All right,
every
I
year.
love him.
Like
I love him.
Can we do like a whole podcast if Kyler Murray was like
We
on
could.
it? Like really like,
Let's
hey
get him to
guys.
play Call of Duty with us. All right, I'm gonna roll through this since we're running out of time here.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
I'm just gonna go through mine. Playoff teams: NFC, Philly, Detroit, Tampa Bay, San Francisco, Arizona, Seattle, Dallas. AFC: Miami, Baltimore, Jacksonville, Kansas City, Buffalo, Cincinnati, Vegas. In the conference championships, I have Detroit over Philly. In the AFC, I have Kansas City over Miami. And in the Super Bowl, I have the Detroit Lions beating the Kansas City Chiefs and ruining the three-peat. JT, what do you got?
Oh man. Okay, so I had San Francisco, Dallas, Detroit, Philly, Green Bay, Rams, and then I really couldn't come up with the seventh, so I threw a dart and it ended up being
Wait,
Tampa Bay.
who did you have winning? Oh, you had Tampa Bay winning the South.
Yeah,
Oh, I was like, you didn't. I was like, wild card. I was like, you don't have a South winner. Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
I didn't know who to pick in the South.
Yeah.
Let's just be honest
Yeah.
with ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah.
Um,
As long as it's not the Panthers, you're probably safe. Like, yeah.
and then in the AFC, Bills, Dolphins, Ravens, and Bengals. Excuse me, sorry. I'm looking off different notes. Texans, Chiefs. Is that 6?
Mm-hmm.
And then Colts. And then ultimately I didn't go wild card, or I didn't go divisional round and all that stuff, but in my Super Bowl pick I have Green Bay, and then I have who did I pick? Green Bay and the Ravens. And then
Who's winning?
well, I'm staying true. I picked Green Bay to win the Super
Okay.
Bowl.
That's
All right,
before the
Sean.
injury. That's fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
4 minutes.
Yeah, I got Dallas winning. I got Detroit winning. I got the Saints winning. I got the 49ers winning. Then I got the Rams. I had the Packers, and then I had the Eagles, and then how many is that? Did I have?
That was 7.
That was 7. Yeah, okay. And then in the AFC, I had Kansas City, Houston, Baltimore, and the Bills, with Miami making it. I had Cincinnati making it. I had the Colts making it. So I think I just copied JT's. Other than the Saints. Then I had Lions and 49ers, and then I had Kansas City Bills, and then I had the same as Matthew, but I have same Super Bowl as last year, same result.
Devin?
San Fran, Detroit, Dallas, and Saints. Wild cards: Seahawks, Green Bay, Eagles. AFC: Chiefs, Baltimore, Bills, Houston. Wild card is going to be Jets, Dolphins, and probably Colts. Super Bowl. I'm gonna go different. I'm gonna say probably San Fran and Houston. I'm gonna give them that. I say San Fran wins it.
Okay. Okay. Some Stroud. Okay.
All right. All right. Well, those are our predictions. Let us know your predictions. Go ahead and tweet us. I'm at _Matt. JT is at JT_the Ginger. Sean is at NastyBilly22. Kevin is at SEA2Believe. That's C2Believe. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Tell us what you think in the comments below about the Seahawks, about the Mariners. Next time, we might be crying about the Mariners. Probably crying about the Mariners. We'll probably talk some Seahawks football, see where they're at. And hockey should be back soon. And JT, you got that hat just online? Like,
Yeah, New Era is
okay.
having a sale. So shout out 5950 fitted.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, with that, we will see you next time on Washington, East to West Sports.